My mother always called me Steven, and when someone calls me Steve, I feel like they're talking to somebody else. I had worked many other jobs. I've had multiple careers before becoming a gardener. I worked as a musician, I worked as a house painter, I worked for an insurance company for a while. Prior to becoming a gardener, I had my own business painting houses, and I was good at it. I, had some satisfaction from making, a house that looked bad look good, but it wasn't really feeding my soul the way that I wanted something in my life to do. I wanted to become a gardener. I thought of the gardeners that I saw around me, and they were mostly mow and blow crews that would come through with their, mowers and blowers and edgers and all that, and blow through a place in a couple minutes and move on to the next job. And I knew that was not for me. And so I thought, what I really want is to work in a place like Golden Gate Park. And within Golden Gate Park, there, are a few places that horticulturally have more interest: the botanical garden, the conservatory of flowers, and the Japanese tea garden. And so that was really my goal, was to land in one of these places. And when I decided to go back to school, I actually landed an internship at the Conservatory of Flowers. So one of those components already came into effect almost immediately. And then after I'd been in school for a bit, the city posted that they were hiring gardeners. And when the city posts for hiring, they don't tell you where those positions are available. They just say city gardener. And I thought, whether or not I get a job with the city, I'll just apply and I'll get to learn about the process. There's written tests, verbal tests, plant ID tests, and panel interview. And they combine all of those. They score you and they rank you on a list. And turns out of the 2,000 plus applicants at the time, I ranked number one on the list. And so I asked at the time that I was interviewed how long it would take to find out if I'd been hired or not. And they said, we'll notify you within writing within a couple weeks. And 2 days later, I get a phone call saying I'm working at the Japanese tea garden. So there are physical things that I'm proud of, like that tree that's just inside the front gate. Obviously, I didn't create that. It's been there for 100 years, but I'm proud of the fact that it looks as good as it does because I'm pruning it every year now. And the 8 years that I've worked on that tree, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of some stones that I've arranged. I'm proud of some plants that I planted. But I think most of all, I feel like my best contribution to the garden is the fact that I've done as much as I can to learn about the art of Japanese gardens so that I can be better for the garden. Why a Japanese garden over some other style of garden? In a Japanese garden, the point to a Japanese garden is to recreate that feeling that you have when you're out in some special place in nature. I equate it to being, at high elevations in the mountains or at a windblown coastline, someplace that feels special, and not just any special wild place. It's a place that feels kind of pristine. There's something that happens in certain places in nature where it feels tidy in a way, because it's almost as if nature had designed things specifically to have that spot be perfect. And I think that's what a Japanese garden is trying to recreate. You never know where life is going to take you, but the future that I see now, the future that I'd like to see, is working here really until I can't anymore. Hopefully, I am physically well enough and mentally, stable enough that I can work here, as long as physically possible.